Construction of pattern for A-Cut Petticoat. In the previous session, we identified the body measurements required for making an A-Cut petticoat. In this session, we will see how to construct the pattern for an A-Cut petticoat based on drafting instructions. At the end of this session, you will be able to estimate fabric required for making an A-Cut petticoat, make calculations with the body measurements to be able to construct pattern for an A-Cut petticoat, construct pattern for an A-Cut petticoat. As per the measurement chart, the full length of the A-Cut petticoat is 22.5 inches and the chest circumference is 24 inches. With these measurements, let's calculate the length of fabric required for an A-Cut petticoat. If we add 1/4 inch for the shoulder seam allowance and 1 inch for the bottom hem to the full length of 22.5 inches, we will get the total length as 23 3/4 inches. We can round this to 25 inches. Thus, the fabric required will be 25 inches. Before we go about constructing the pattern for an A-Cut petticoat, let's first take a look at how our pattern would actually look like. If we were to fold the A-Cut petticoat symmetrically lengthwise into two, this will be a pattern. Before we can start constructing the pattern for the A-Cut petticoat, we have to make a few calculations with the body measurements. As a common rule, we have to add seam allowance and wearing ease to the body measurements and calculate some fractions of the measurements before drafting. The body measurements for making the A-Cut petticoat are full length, which is 22.5 inches, front length of 11.5 inches, and chest circumference of 24 inches. To the full length, which is 22.5 inches, if we add 1/4 inch for the shoulder seam allowance and 1 inch for the bottom hem, then the total length of the petticoat becomes 23 3/4 inches. Now, if we add 1/4 inch seam allowance to the front length of 11.5 inches, we get the total front length as 11 3/4 inches. To the 1/4 of our chest circumference, which is 6 inches, we need to add 1 inch for wearing ease and 1/2 inch for seam allowance, and so we get a total of 7.5 inches as the 1/4 portion of the chest circumference. For the bottom hem width, we need to add 4 to 6 inches to get an A-line shape to the petticoat. Here we will add 5 inch to 1/4 of the chest circumference, that is 5 plus 6 inches, which comes to 11 inches. We need to calculate one more fraction before we can start drafting. That is 1/6 of the chest circumference, which is 4 inches. Now let's see how to construct pattern for an A-Cut petticoat based on drafting instructions. Draw baseline 012, which represents the total length, which is 23 3/4 inches. This line represents the fold while drafting on fabric. From point 0, measure along the baseline the total front length including seam allowance, which is 11 3/4 inches, and make a mark. This is point 1. From point 0, draw a right angle line to the baseline. This will be the shoulder line while drafting on fabric. From point 1, draw a right angled line to the baseline. This is the waist line. Again, starting from point 0, measure along the shoulder line 1/4 of the chest circumference, including 1 inch of wearing ease and 1/2 inch of seam allowance, which comes to 7.5 inches, and make a mark. This is point 2. From point 2, draw a right angle line to the shoulder line, which is also parallel to the base line. The point where this line and the waist line meet is point 10. Measure and mark the midpoint of 0, 2. This is point 3. Measure 1 inch to the left of point 3 and make a mark. this is 0.4. Again measure 1 inch to the right of 0.3 and make a mark. This is 0.5. From 0.4, draw a right angle line about halfway into the bodice. And from 0.5, draw a right angle line for about halfway into the bodice. From 0.5, measure 1/4 inch down and make a mark. This is 0.6. Connect points 4 and 6 in a straight line. This will be the shoulder slope. From 0.2, measure 1/6 of chest circumference, that is 4 inch plus ½ inch, which equals to 4.5 inches down, and make a mark. This is 0.7. From 0.7, draw a right angle line towards the left until it meets the line vertically drawn down from 0.5. From 0.0, measure along the baseline 1/6 of chest circumference, which is 4 inches, and make a mark. This is 0.8. From 0.8, measure 1 inch upwards and make a mark. This is 0.9. From 0.8, draw a right angle line until it meets the line vertically drawn down from 0.4. Starting from 0.9 in a right angle, shape towards 0.4, joining the straight line at 0.4. This is the back neck opening. Again, starting from 0.8 in a right angle, shape towards 0.4, joining the straight line at 0.4. This is the front neck opening. Next, starting from 0.7, we will shape the front armhole. Start drawing along the straight line, then curve into the bodice, and then join the straight line at 0.6. This is the front armhole. Now, we will shape the back armhole. Again, start drawing from 0.7 along the straight line and continue to shape a curve joining the straight line at 0.6. This is the back armhole. From 0.10, measure 3/4 inch to the left and make a mark. This is 0.11. Connect points 7 and 11 in a straight line. From 0.12, measure along the horizontal line the bottom width of 11 inches and make a mark. This is 0.13. Connect points 11 and 13 in a straight line. Shape the side seam at the waist in a soft curve from one straight line to the other. Then from 0.13, measure 3/4 inch upwards and make a mark. This is 0.14. Again from 0.14, measure 1 inch upwards and make a mark. This is 0.15. From 0.12, measure 1 inch upwards and make a mark. This is 0.16. From 0.16, draw a right angle line which is also parallel to the line connecting points 12 and 13. About midway along the straight line, starting from 0.12, shape in a soft curve to 0.14. And again from the straight line, starting from 0.16 midway, shape in a soft curve to 0.15. Mark midpoints between points 15 and 14 and shape 1/8 inch inwards. Thus, we have constructed the pattern for an A-cut petticoat. Here, we have drafted the full length, front length, waistline, shoulder line, front neck, back neck, front armhole, back armhole, side seam shaping, and bottom hem shaping for an A-cut petticoat. In this session, we have learnt how to construct pattern for an A-cut petticoat. Before we conclude, let's take a look at the key steps involved in constructing pattern for an A-cut petticoat. Step 1. Draw the baseline fold and mark the full length and front length. Step 2. Construct the shoulder line and the waist line. Step 3. Construct the shoulder slope, back neck opening, front neck opening, front armhole and back armhole. Step 4. Shape the side seam and the bottom hem. With that, we've come to the end of this session.